Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeremy. This is Strange Radios, and it's time for an album review. Randy Houser, Magnolia. So this is sort of my introduction to Randy's music. I've heard the name, but I've never listened to him before. In terms of the name, Randy Houser, I only know it attached to country songs that I really don't particularly like. But when I saw this come up on Spotify, I figured I'd give it a listen. But another thing going into this was the title of the album, Magnolia. As a writer, Magnolia seems like one of those objects that non-poets use to seem poetic. Like most often when I see Magnolia referenced, it's usually by a writer of a lesser tier. So going into this, I was kind of anticipating not enjoying it. And I guess I didn't. I will say, though, that the music was actually pleasant. In terms of expectations, obviously, having never really listened to him, but only knowing his name attached to songs like Honky Tonk Badonka-Donk. Like, I was expecting just the worst of all possible bro country sort of thing. And no, this was actually a pleasant album. The music was soft. It was sort of rootsy. A lot of gentle melodies through this. The hooks throughout the album were actually pretty catchy. A few songs stand out as being pretty cute. And while most of the album is sort of softer, it does get into like a soft rockabilly sort of phase every now and again. In terms of the instrumentation, I mean, it's a rootsy country album, but the guitar does have some shining moments, as do the drums. They do stand out in a couple tracks as being particularly good. But upon first listen to this album, what struck me almost immediately was that Houser has a great voice for country music. Like, his voice sounds great. But then we get into the lyrics on the album. When it comes to lyrics, that's what really draws me in. And the lyrics on this one were woefully disappointing. Like, you have this sort of soft, slow, subtle music, but the majority of the lyrics on this record are about drinking beer and smoking weed. A lot of the songs sound like he's just going off and checking off items on the must-have in a country song list. And there are moments on this, like the very first time I was listening to it, where the lyrics were just predictable. Like, I knew what was coming before he actually said it. You don't want that. In particular, the song "Do What Whiskey Does" stands out as particularly weird, because the chorus, he says he's just going to let whiskey do what whiskey does, and then through the verses proceeds not to really understand what whiskey's going to do. I feel like Randy feels like he's a deeper thinker and writer than he is. Some of these songs feel like they think they're more important than they are. It's worse than pop dreck, in my opinion. Like, at least when you write a dumb pop song, you're just trying to write something that is catchy. You're trying to write something that people can sing with. With this, it sounds like Randy thinks he's writing important things, but you spend 5 seconds thinking about it, and you realize how dumb they are. You know, and with pop music that works, because they're not really trying to do anything smarter than that. But this, I fear he thinks he is. Like, lyrics to the song "Running Man." Near the end of the song, there's a short bridge where he says, "Next thing you know, the only thing you know is you didn't know nothing, and you still don't know." And that's fucking stupid. That's meaningless nonsense. And I guess that, when you come right down to it, is sort of the problem with this, is Randy thinks these songs are better than they are. And that's really just the problem here. Is when you get right down to it, he's not good. He's written good music. But he hasn't accompanied that music with meaningful lyrics at all. Now, granted, not every song needs to have meaningful lyrics. Not every artist even needs to dabble in that. But if you're not going to do that, if you're going to just go ahead and do the party album, if you're going to go ahead and just write those kinds of songs with the drinking beer and smoking weed and going to the bar and picking up chicks, then why the fuck are you writing a rootsy fucking slow album? Like, if you want to make a party album, cool, right? That's fine. But it needs to have some amp to it. There needs to be energy to it. And there are a few moments on this record that, I don't know, it doesn't quite work. It doesn't work within the framework that Hauser has set up himself. Like, the bridge to the song Whole Lotta Quit. That bridge, like, it just kills the entire momentum of that track. So basically, with this record, what you have is a bunch of party tunes in the guise of a artsy, rootsy, folk, country, Americana album. And it doesn't work. Not for me, anyways. It doesn't come across, I think, the way he intends it to. Again, I get the vibe he's going for like a party album, but with how slow and how sort of melancholic the music is, that doesn't really make sense to have all your lyrics be about drinking and smoking and, you know, this kind of stuff. I could see it serving as background music more than anything. It's fine just sort of jittering away in the background, but if you pay attention to it, that's when it starts to really sort of lose any sort of interest, at least for me. There's no congruency here. Like, it doesn't work. Anyways, I guess that's it. I'm feeling a 5.7 on this one. Admittedly, I'm not the target audience here, but even as someone who is not part of that target audience, I don't understand how people who are looking for these types of lyrics would be drawn towards these types of songs musically. And vice versa. Anyways, let me know what you thought of this album down in the comments below. This has been Strange Radios. Stranger, adios.